Hey guys, welcome back to another Spy Family Sunday. Today I'm here to talk about Spy Family chapter 128. So this was quite an interesting chapter. I am curious to see where we go from here. The real meat of the chapter doesn't really happen until the end, but we will go through all of it. It was funny, so if you're new here, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's go ahead and get into it. So the chapter starts off with a commercial of sorts. It's promoting a show called the 5-Year Love Plan. It's a romance show. It has like one of those live audiences, you know, like back in the day with like I Love Lucy. It turns out that they're having a show and they're inviting people to be on there. You can win tickets. Yuri is at work and her boss is like, hey, I got tickets to this. I wanted to give them to you for all the, good work that you've been doing. So she just happens to get tickets to this show. Yuri's coworkers are, jealous. They're like, oh my God, how'd you get these tickets? I love that show. Like, you should give me the tickets or at least invite me. Yuri's sort of thinking it over because she has actually been watching this show. Like, she started watching it, obviously so that she can learn what she's not doing in her marriage. And it's funny because there's a panel of Lloyd. He's coming home and, he's like, oh, this is a surprise. And like, she's watching the show. And Yuri's sort of embarrassed about it. She said she cut it off before Lloyd could fully see what she was doing. For the life of me, I cannot remember the girl's name that has like the short hair with the barrettes. I never remember her name. I know Camilla and I know Sharon. And so, they're begging Yuri like, oh, take me, if you and your husband don't go. Sharon's like, what are y'all talking about? Like, obviously she's gonna take her husband to go see this on a date. Yuri's like, oh, like we could do that, like a date? Like, should I ask Lloyd? And then we cut to Hemlock. I completely forgot this guy existed. Hemlock is like to speak of dating, like this is just, there's so much impropriety going on. He's always offended by something. And so the girl that likes him is like, what are you talking about? She's thinking to herself like, oh, you're super cute when you're jealous. And she's basically hitting on him. She's like, so what about you and me on that date, Mr. Jones? Because that's his cover name at this agency. And of course he's like, no, I've already told you no, like I do things alone. We'll see how long that lasts. I think the more Hemlock gets comfortable working for the state, maybe something will happen for him, but he's just in complete denial. So Yuri is headed home. She's on the train. She's thinking about asking Lloyd to go out on a date. And of course, Yuri always imagines like worst case scenario. And so she's thinking about Lloyd being annoyed by the proposition, which is completely crazy. But she's on the train. Yuri just happens to be there. They're talking and she tells him about the tickets. He automatically assumes like, hey, you and I should go. I'll clear my schedule. We can make a day of it. Yuri's like, no, this is gonna be for me and my husband. And Yuri's obviously distraught. And he's like, what are you talking about? You told me that you hated him. And Yuri's like, no, I don't. I never said that. And he's like, what, is it because you love him? And, Yuri's like, of course I love him. He's my husband after all. Yuri basically just like passes away like on the train. He's like laying on the ground and like several stops pass him. And by the end of it, the train conductor's like, bro, this is the last stop. Like, you gotta go. Of course, Yuri is determined to sort of spy on this. Like, he's like, I can't allow my sister to do this. Like, so he's gonna find a way to trail them. We cut to a scene where Anya is playing with Bond and she has her Stellas and she's copying Mrs. Long, like with her whole attack with Tanitra's bolts. And so she's playing with Bond and her Stella stars. Lloyd is like, hey, get out of the way. I can't see the TV. You really shouldn't be playing with your Stellas like that. And so he's thinking about his conversation with Handler and the fact that Anya's like halfway there. She has 4 Stellas. She needs 8. So we're making great progress. And he's thinking about potentially like awarding her and asking her like, what do you want? Yuri comes home. She has the tickets. Anya's like, I want to go, but it's not for minors, so she can't go. And then she asks Lloyd if he wants to go. And so he's thinking about it. And apparently on this show, the director is responsible for creating some type of like propaganda films like during the war. So there's a potential potential of, maybe getting some information out of that man. And then the opera singer is rumored to, be a relationship or having an affair with like the prime minister of broadcasting. So he's thinking of it more as like a mission in order to get intel. So he's like, sure, why not? Let's go. Anya teases them, talking about, oh, y'all are gonna do like lovey-dovey things. Of course, both of them are in denial, and they're like, no, that's not gonna happen. Yuri's sort of fussing about what should I wear. She decides to just wear her normal clothes because, of course, it's Yuri. And so they get to the broadcasting station. They're sort of on like this mini tour of the building, and Lloyd is like, but I mean, he's telling Yuri that he's having fun. And, she's like, yes, this is fun. And, they're kind of nervous around each other. Of course, Yuri comes and, he's like the third wheel, and him and Lloyd sort of have, like this dialogue. It's like, oh, we haven't seen each other in a while, and it's kind of steely and prickly and all that kind of stuff, but they save face. So they get into the audience, and, you see the lights, camera, action. The person who's leading, I guess, the interview with the cast is, they're talking to the film crew and all that kind of stuff, and breaking down scenes, and, just PR for TV shows. FYI, like, I am a big movie fan. I have not done movie reviews on this channel in a while, which I will do, but it's just all fluff, remedial questions about the casting, what did it feel like to do this scene, etc., blah blah blah. And so I guess there's a scene coming up where two of the characters are kissing, and Yuri's feeling sort of like awkward. She's like, oh my god, this is getting awkward. She's the only one that's feeling embarrassed about it. Lloyd is not. Again, we don't really know much about Lloyd's past as far as like, what he was willing to do while he was undercover. We can assume that he's had relations with other women, like that's not far-fetched to say. So like none of this is embarrassing to him. And of course, Yuri starts to lament a little bit, and she's like, I wish I could play the role of his wife as great as these women do on TV. So she's feeling a little down about that. Anya is being babysat by Frankie. They're watching the show, just having like small talk and all that kind of stuff. We cut back to the studio. They're having like a commercial break or something, because these are live shows, so people have to go to the bathroom, get water, get snacks, take care of themselves. Lloyd decides to like slip away and say that he's going to go to the bathroom. Meanwhile, Yuri is stalking him, following him. He's like, damn it, I'm not going to be able to get any recon because Yuri already suspects me as Twilight, so he's not trying to be outed again, so he's playing it cool. Yuri is just, sitting in the audience, waiting for Lloyd to come back, and she's sort of thinking to herself, does this even constitute as a date? Because she didn't frame it that way, so she's sort of like second guessing herself on that. Lloyd is going down the hallway, and there's a crew member that's like, hey, are the stage settings, ready for part B? There's a bunch of commotion saying, I don't know, they're not back yet. They're freaking out. We're going to be live in 30 seconds. Like, what's going on? Lloyd is listening actively. And one of the crew members is like, you go down the elevator and go bring him up here and see what the hell is going on. So he goes to the elevator. They open the door, and a group of people are coming off the elevator, and they look super shady. Like, super shady. They look dead behind the eyes. Everybody's wearing hats. Just very ominous looking. So I'm like, this is going to be a problem. We go back to stage. Everybody's talking. We're continuing with the interviews. And then suddenly they cut to the opera woman that, Lloyd is suspecting is having an affair with the prime minister of broadcasting. And she's like, okay, audience, it's quiz time. All of a sudden, these unknown people that came off of the elevator are pointing guns at everybody, and I was like, oh shit, like stuff is getting real. And so basically these people are like, I guess they're protesters, they're terrorists, I don't know, we don't know, but this is how the chapter ends. They're like, citizens of Estonia, I have a programming announcement to make. And so it's an emergency broadcast, and they're like, we're going to air our grievances like to Estonia. So that's where the chapter ends. I mean, Lloyd's on alert, Yuri's on alert, Yuri's sort of taken aback by this, and that's how the chapter ends. So we sort of have a hostage situation here at this broadcast, and what makes this very interesting is the fact that we know Lloyd, Yuri, Yor can defend themselves and defend everybody here. The question is, how are they going to do that without A, revealing themselves to each other, and B, with all of these people around? So this could get very sticky and very interesting really quick. So I'm very excited for the next chapter, because how are we going to get out of this without revealing a piece of ourselves? You know what I'm saying? Like, even if Lloyd and Yuri work together, they would instantly be suspicious, because it's like, why are you so good at doing this? Like, why are you so good at doing this? Why are you good at hostage negotiation? Like, why are you good at doing all of these things that normal people would not be good at, considering Lloyd's role as a doctor? So, and then bring in the fact that Yor does not know that her brother is part of the secret police. So all of this could get very dicey really quick. So the next chapter is probably going to be really amazing. I can't wait to see what these grievances are that these people have with Estonia. So yeah, next chapter is going to be great. It's going to be fantastic. My expectations are pretty high. And I don't know if I'm like overhyping them, but I feel like Endo really needs to start putting these characters in uncomfortable situations where their identities can be revealed, or at least cracks in their identity start to, unravel, because at some point we have to learn about each other. We cannot go through an entire series where it's like, well, shucks, I had just no idea like this was happening. Like, no. The cracks need to start, and this would be an appropriate time. Like, we're almost 130 chapters in, so maybe this will be a long arc, maybe it'll be a short arc, but, by the time we get to chapter 150, one of these characters needs to be outed. Whether it's Anya, Lloyd, or Yor, or Yuri, one of these characters needs to be outed. We have got to find out, so very excited for next chapter. Let me know what you guys think. What are your predictions? Do you think somebody's going to be outed from this incident? And until next time, remember to be awesome and stay true.